The world's best security consultant had one blind spot: his wife. Now let's begin the story. As a security expert, Jackson Price had always lived his life in the shadows. For 15 years, he had operated as a private investigator, specializing in uncovering corporate secrets and private betrayals. He knew that information was the most valuable asset in the world. He never imagined that his most significant case would involve his own family, specifically his wife. Their brownstone in Brooklyn Heights had been a testament to their love when they first purchased it 8 years earlier. Lena had been captivated by the exposed brick and the stunning views of the Manhattan skyline. Now, as Jackson sat in his office, surrounded by monitors and high-tech surveillance gear, the home felt like a cage he had built for himself. Lena Price, a talented real estate developer with stunning blonde hair and piercing green eyes, had once been the most enchanting woman Jackson had ever met. He'd been swept away when he met her at a charity gala in 2013, and their whirlwind romance had led to a quick marriage. For the first few years, he truly believed he had found his soulmate. Their twins, Ethan and Mia, had arrived 3 years later and were now the center of Jackson's world at 8 years old. Mia had her mother's looks and her father's logical mind. Ethan, with his artistic spirit, reminded Jackson of his younger brother, who had been lost in Afghanistan. The first hint of trouble appeared 6 months ago during a routine security check of his home network. He found a series of hidden financial transactions, encrypted communications, and hotel reservations for two, all under Lena's maiden name. The discovery hit him like a physical punch, but Jackson had long ago learned how to turn emotional pain into a tool. Lena's business partner, Bryce Hamilton, was a frequent guest at their dinner table. Tall and charismatic, Bryce had an easy charm that could win over anyone. Jackson had even considered him a friend. His investigation quickly revealed the truth: an affair that had been going on for 2 years. Hidden cameras in Lena's office showed intimate moments, secret bank accounts were discovered, and text messages laid out their affair in detail. The messages didn't just confirm their physical relationship. They revealed their plans for a future that didn't include Jackson. But it was on Lena's laptop, the one she thought was impenetrable, that Jackson found the most painful truth. They weren't just planning to leave him, they were plotting to ruin him. "The prenup won't mean a thing if we can prove he's been using company money for his surveillance business," Bryce had written. "Your mother's connections will ensure you get everything, including full custody." Lena's response was chilling. "Ethan and Mia hardly know him anyway. He's always working. We'll make sure they understand he chose his job over his family." Jackson read the messages several times before the full weight of their betrayal settled over him. They weren't just ending their marriage. They were orchestrating his complete downfall. Lena would take his children, his reputation, and his assets. Bryce would get the woman and the business empire they had built together. But they had made a grave mistake. They had underestimated the man they were targeting. For the next 4 months, Jackson meticulously planned his response. He moved assets into hidden accounts and, most importantly, began investigating Lena's family with the same intense focus he used on his professional cases. The Ellison family had money and influence, but they also had secrets. Lena's mother, Eleanor Ellison, was a federal judge who had presided over family court for 2 decades. Her father, Richard Ellison, owned a chain of luxury hotels across the Northeast. They had always looked down on Jackson, treating him like a commoner who had gotten lucky. They didn't know that Jackson had grown up in foster care after his parents were killed in a car accident. He had learned early on that the world was divided into predators and prey, and he had vowed never to be the latter again. The breakthrough came when Jackson was researching Judge Ellison's career. Buried in old court records, he found a sealed case from 13 years ago. The case involved a fatal drunk driving incident that had killed a family of 3. The driver, a prominent businessman's son, had received an inexplicably light sentence of community service despite being 3 times over the legal alcohol limit. The judge who handed down the sentence was Eleanor Ellison. The businessman was Richard Ellison's business partner. The victims, the Rossi family, were Italian immigrants who owned a small construction firm that had been competing for a major city contract against Ellison Development. Jackson had found his leverage. The day Lena's lawyer, Mark Jenkins, served the papers at his office was the day Jackson had been preparing for. Jenkins was exactly what Jackson expected: arrogant, with a confident smile that came from winning through intimidation. "She gets everything, including full custody," Jenkins said, sliding the papers across Jackson's desk. "Your kids don't even want your name anymore." Jackson looked up from the documents, his face unreadable. His office hummed around them, a testament to his successful career. Jackson smiled and pulled a sealed envelope from his desk. "Deliver this to your client." Jenkins's smug grin faltered as he took the envelope. "What is this?" Jackson replied simply, "Insurance." That evening, Jackson's phone began to ring nonstop. The first call was from Lena. Her voice panicked. "What is this, Jackson? What are you doing?" He let it go to voicemail. The second was from Bryce, his confidence replaced by barely contained fury. You think you can blackmail us? This is extortion. Jackson deleted the message without listening to the end. The third call came just before midnight. It was Judge Ellison. Her voice was cold with rage, but Jackson could hear a hint of fear underneath. How could you possibly know about a 13-year-old secret? She screamed. Good evening, Eleanor. I was wondering when you'd call. You bastard. What do you want? Justice, Jackson said calmly. Something you know very little about. The envelope had contained copies of the sealed court documents, financial records, and photographs. Evidence of a conspiracy that had led to 3 deaths and millions in illegal profits. It was evidence that could not only end Judge Ellison's career but also send her to federal prison. You can't prove anything, she said, but her voice lacked conviction. I can prove everything. Bank records show payments from Ellison hotels to your campaign fund. Records show the Rossi family's bids were mysteriously rejected after their deaths. Photos of you and Richard celebrating the hotel contract just days after you let a killer go free. The line was silent for a long moment. What do you want? She finally asked. Lena withdraws the divorce papers. Bryce sells his business share to my shell company for $1. Lena gives me full custody of the children and disappears from their lives. And you resign from the bench in disgrace. That's impossible. Lena will never agree. Lena will agree, Jackson interrupted. Because the alternative is her mother in federal prison and her father's empire crumbling under a federal investigation. Because the alternative is the Rossi family finally getting justice and taking everything your family stole from them. You're destroying an innocent family, she said. Jackson's laugh was harsh. Innocent? Your daughter and her lover conspired to steal my children and destroy my life. Your family built its fortune on the graves of people they murdered through corruption. There's nothing innocent about any of you. Over the next week, Jackson's plan unfolded perfectly. Lena initially tried to fight, convinced her family's power would protect her. Bryce hired investigators to dig up dirt on Jackson, but they only found the carefully crafted story of a man who had built a successful, legal business from nothing. The pressure mounted as local media began asking questions about the Ellison family's old cases. Led by anonymous tips, Lena's resolve broke when federal investigators arrived at her parents' hotel chain with search warrants. Bryce's confidence shattered when he realized that fighting Jackson meant fighting a man who had perfected the art of investigation and had evidence of every dirty deal. The final confrontation took place in Jenkins's conference room. The lawyer looked exhausted. Lena sat stiffly in her chair, her composure gone. Bryce hadn't come at all. His lawyer had advised him to distance himself from the Ellisons. You've won, Lena said quietly. We'll sign whatever you want. Jackson looked at her, searching for any sign of the woman he had once loved. He saw only defeat. I want to hear you say it. Say what? That you never loved me, that our marriage was a lie, that you planned to steal my children and ruin my life. Lena's mask fell away, revealing an ugly truth. You were never good enough for me, Jackson. My parents knew it from the start. You're a nobody, a foster kid with grand delusions. And yet, this nobody just destroyed your entire family, he said. The prenup is irrelevant. You're signing a new agreement that gives me everything. The documents Jackson provided were comprehensive. Lena would keep only her personal belongings and a small trust fund, enough to survive, but not enough to rebuild the life she had planned. Bryce would sell his share of the business to Jackson's shell company and disappear for good. Most importantly, Lena would sign away all parental rights, with supervised visitation only. The children will know the truth someday, Lena said, signing each page. The children will know that their mother abandoned them, Jackson replied. That she chose a lover over her family. That's the only truth that matters. As the papers were signed, Jackson stood up. There's one more thing you should know. Bryce isn't disappearing because I forced him to. He disappeared because 3 days ago, he moved all his assets to a shell company in the Cayman Islands and bought a one-way ticket to a non-extradition country. The color drained from Lena's face. That's impossible. Bryce loves me. Jackson placed a photo on the table. It showed Bryce at the airport with a brunette woman. This is Sophie Walsh, his other girlfriend. They've been together for 6 months. Bryce was playing both of you, planning to take his share of the business and disappear with her once the divorce was final. Lena stared at the photo, her world collapsing for the second time in a week. The difference between us, Jackson continued, is that I never trusted him. I investigated everyone in your life, including your lover. When I found his plan, I simply made it impossible for him to execute it with your money. He left you to face the consequences alone, just like you planned to leave me. As Jackson walked to the door, Lena's composure finally broke. You can't take my children. They're mine. Jackson turned back, his face a mask of stone. You gave up that right when you chose to destroy their father. Ethan and Mia deserve better than a mother who would use them as weapons. They might hate me for this someday, but they'll never doubt that I fought for them. 3 months later, Jackson sat in his office, watching his children play in the yard. Ethan was teaching Mia to throw a baseball, and they were laughing. They had adapted with the resilience of youth, understanding only that their father was there for them and their mother was not. Eleanor Ellison had resigned from the bench and received a plea deal, resulting in house arrest. Richard Ellison's hotel empire was under federal oversight, its assets frozen pending civil lawsuits filed by the Rossi family's surviving relatives. Lena had disappeared, last seen working as a real estate agent in New Jersey. Bryce had fled the country, but not before Jackson's associates had ensured his hidden assets were seized and returned to their rightful owners. The phone on Jackson's desk rang. The caller ID showed a number he recognized as a potential client seeking his particular brand of justice. Price Security, he answered. Mr. Price, my name is Catherine Miller. I think my husband is planning to kill me. Jackson leaned back in his chair, his pen ready. Tell me everything, Mrs. Miller. Start from the beginning. Outside, his children's laughter echoed through the autumn air, a reminder of everything he had fought to protect. In this business, there was always another case, another betrayer who needed to learn that actions have consequences. Jackson Price had learned that lesson in foster care, refined it in the military, and perfected it in his marriage. He had built his life on a simple principle. Those who show mercy to their enemies are destined to be destroyed by them. He would never make that mistake again. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more stories like this. See you next time.